Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Welcome, everybody. Oh, fudge. Lost my voice a little bit there. Welcome, everybody, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And may I just say, what a week we had. Like, holy crap. Never have I seen one week just filled with so much entertainment and animation news just all piled up one after another. And there have been so many major contenders this week for what to talk about in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and we've had so many, and there were plenty of them that, you know, they could have been great subjects here, but I had to make some sacrifices because, well, I'm not going to be here all day, and also, well, you know, keep it reasonably timed with everything, because I still have, like, plenty of others that need to be discussed in this podcast. You know, there are some honorable mentions that I could bring up here, including the infamous M&M redesign, in which it seems more like a distraction that Mars is doing because of, well, a particular lawsuit that they are involved with that, yeah, it's a massive yikes from there. And then also there is some Italian politics that has been happening in which Tifa from Final Fantasy VII somehow got involved. And with her involvement, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it kind of makes me a bit more interested in Italian politics. The kind in which when she showed up, it made a lot of Italians go, Mamma mia! Oh boy, but then again, there is also a little bit of sad news that did happen at the same time. Unfortunately, we did see a couple more celebrity passings that has happened so far, and it does make it concerning for 2022, in which this might set a bit of a precedent that we're probably not ready for. You probably have heard recently the passing of singer Meatloaf, along with the legendary comedian Louis Anderson is no longer with us, so may they rest in peace. But with that said, though, we still got an extremely exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast today. And let me tell you, there's going to be a lot that we shall discuss, including one major grand finale that may not be animation related. Oh, but it is definitely not just one of the biggest news of the year, but possibly even of the decade. So, with that said, I would like to go to the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, are you all prepared for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it. Oh, and thank you, KS Green, for the extra subscription here. That is very nice of you. All right, so let's see. Yes, oh, okay, yeah, I see it. People are prepared, people are set. And I believe now, with all that said and done, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that we got here, we're going to talk about Netflix. Because Netflix right now has a whole bunch of upcoming programs in which it will definitely keep us animation fans quite excited, especially for this year. One example, today actually, they have revealed that the long-awaited Guillermo del Toro film adaptation, or the stop-motion adaptation of Pinocchio, is officially going to be coming out at the end of the year in December, even giving us a little bit of a teaser trailer. But that's not what I'm going to be talking about. What I will be discussing about instead is actually going to be something that, holy crap, I have received so many messages from people. It's as if, like, this trailer came out and suddenly certain people just went, Oh my god, I gotta warn AniMat! AniMat, you need to talk about this! You need to talk about the Cuphead Show on your podcast! Please mention this trailer in your podcast! Like, I got so many of these messages all across social media demanding me that I talk about the Cuphead Show. And if y'all want me to talk about the Cuphead Show, then fine. I already had it prepared anyways, but if you really do insist, don't worry, I shall deliver. And with that said, let us go. Oh, I do have a new subscriber. Oh, thank you very much, Arcade Zeus. But anyways, let's go. Oh boy, a hype train is coming. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I was just checking on the notifications, but whatever. With that said, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for Netflix's upcoming anticipated animated series, The Cuphead Show. That's not what I wanted. Why the fridge are you here? There we go. Let's begin this. Uh-oh. Oh, crap. Do you guys not hear it? Oh, crap. Have I been doing... Ah, man. Have I been playing dumb so far? Well, son of a fish. Hold on a sec. Let me just double check something. Ah, now you can hear it. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. Oh boy, it kind of made it a little bit awkward with the other moments right there. Tried to do some soundboard stuff, but I guess you guys didn't hear it. Sorry about that. But anyways, let's get to it. Here's the Cuphead Show. Now let's play the trailer.
Muggsy, what we need is a little fun and adventure.
Con evil. Cuphead, I'm not so sure.
You know what I do when I'm not so sure? I double down!
What does that even mean?
Let me introduce you to some friends of mine.
When they run.
Roll the dice! It's time for a double down!
I hate those cups.
You guys want an evening you'll never forget?
You two are nothing but trouble.
We love trouble!
We do?
Well, if you're looking for fun,
Yes, we're looking for fun!
then a
We got the DVDs!
Get your grandma, let's go! Welcome to the Cuphead! Welcome to the Cuphead! Welcome to the Cuphead Show!
Oh, get that cup.
Head?
Oh, shut up.
Yes, and that is the trailer for the Cuphead Show, in which it is going to be coming out on Netflix. Finally, we do have a release date, by the way. After all these years, it will finally be released next month on February 18th. And, wow, did they deliver on this trailer. Now, we've known about this series for quite a while now. Of course, ever since the game was released and like the hype was definitely real for this. And then Netflix revealed that they wanted to turn the game into an animated series. It definitely got a lot of people excited, especially with the fact that Cuphead, if you guys don't know, is a massive tribute to the golden age of animation. Back in like the 1930s and the 1940s, it's all a massive homage to those classic cartoon makers, whether they be from Fleischer Studios, from Disney, from Warner Brothers, from MGM, and what have you. And it's all just one massive homage to that classic style and just brought to life. And even what we see in here, in this particular trailer, they really showed a lot of love and a lot of dedication. Like the animators who worked on this show in particular, they put in that much love and they put in that much dedication, almost as much as the game creators. Of course, they didn't go all the way into like insane levels where they did it exactly like the game, where they had to not only do like purely hand drawn and add in like ink and paint on the cells and stuff like that. They didn't go that far, but still though, what they have done, honestly, it's the kind where I feel like the best thing about it, it's not what we see in the big picture, but I feel like it really is amongst the small details that I really do appreciate. Like, here's a good example. Like, just look at one frame of what they got here. Like, just one little example. Okay, yeah, like this one. This is a good one. Okay, like one thing that I have noticed, like you look at all these little like details that you would see around them. Like number one, you may notice like the backgrounds around them, the backgrounds have a little bit more detail than the main characters actually do. And that is because they tried to emulate the watercolor backgrounds, which used to be very common. And I mean, anybody who paints with watercolors can understand that it is an extremely difficult process, and not to mention a very unforgiving process. Like once you make one error on something, like it's going to be there for life. It's going to be next to impossible to find a way to actually fix it. You got to find a way to make that mistake work with the whole picture that you got. So already the backgrounds that you see is already like emulating the style, like being all watercolored and being a little bit more detailed than the main characters. And then there's also another one that I've noticed, and this is like while I was actually watching this, like if you look closely, like with this one little clip.
I'm not so sure.
You know what I do when I'm not so sure? I double down!
What does that even mean?
Now, I don't know if you have seen it. In fact, I wonder if, no, that would be a little bit too much. Yeah, like, okay, if you look closely, you'll notice that there are a few frames in which they actually have a bit of, oh, here, like one example. Okay, there we go. Like you'll notice that often like there would be like little grains that would just pop up, trying to emulate the look that this is from a projection reel instead of actually being from Netflix. So that's another example. But one thing that for me, like the little detail that I actually do appreciate the most is if you look right behind the characters, like if you look just behind behind Cuphead or Mugman, like if you look closely, like just right next to them on their left, there's like a tiny bit of a shadow. Like you see just a small shadow that's just right behind them the whole time. And this is honestly a detail that I adore because this is exactly emulating the look of cell shaded animation in order to really capture that style. Because for those of you who don't know the process of how that works, because back in the old days of animation before the internet was even made, and like back in the days like when Walt Disney was in charge and Leon Schlesinger, along with the big Looney Tunes people like Chuck Jones, Tex Avery, Friz Freleng, and all those guys, back then what they would do is that they would paint the cells, like you probably know that, but then they would go and take a picture of each frame, like with the backgrounds and with that one individual cell in order to make a frame. But when they do take a picture, like it is still very bright and very well lit in that particular room to really show, like in order to make in order to make these cells like really pop up. But there would often be a little bit of a shadow that could be found on the side because the cells don't necessarily touch upon the paper itself. Like sometimes it does rise up a little bit, and that is because of the involvement with paint. So that is an extra little detail that I honestly love from this. And again, this is just the small details that I really do appreciate, but again, it's the small details that really show the dedication that the animators would put in. But again, that's just the minor stuff. Like even when you do look at the big picture of all this, this is really a fun series that does look like it does capture the style of old cartoons, and not just visually, but even with the tone of it all. The fact that like they emphasize the fact that it is going to be a musical. Like you're going to have moments where you're going to have characters just sing along to different songs that they're literally going to go and put up song and dance numbers. And not to mention like all the characters that are also being involved with this. Like you're gonna have just about everyone who has appeared in the Cuphead game. They will have their moment to shine and play a prominent role, especially when it comes to Cuphead, Mugman, Miss Chalice, and of course you got the devil. So already, like, the tone of it is a lot of fun, and even some of the humor is actually pretty enjoyable. Like even the fire moment is actually pretty cute. Like this part here.
I hate those cups.
So yeah, you would have like all these small moments, and also, and I guess you could say that this is something that would be in the same category as like the small detail. But another thing that what this series is going to do in particular, and you probably have already noticed that, or people mentioned it on social media back when there was that sneak peek with the full introduction of the Dice Man, which will be played by Wayne. Crap, why does his name escape me? By Wayne something. Fudge. What? I really like this guy. I feel ashamed that I even forgot the name of the guy. I know his name. Fudge. Chatwall, can you guys help me out on the name? Like I just Wayne Brady. There we go. Thank you. It just popped in my mind. Yeah, so like yeah, the fact that Wayne Brady is also going to be playing in this. Thank you, thank you, peeps. I did need that. But anyways, yeah, the fact that like this is another small thing. The fact that we do see all these like little Easter eggs of other cartoons, of like little moments that you do see that it's paying homage directly to other cartoons. I mean, they've already done that enough with Cuphead, but we do see a bit more in stuff like this. Sometimes you'll see like small cameos of obscure cartoon characters. Like some people have mentioned like Flip the Frog, which was a creation by Iwerks, is going to make a cameo. And one good example that I've noticed is actually in the more spookier scenes, where there are times where you notice that it has some Disney references. Like, okay, like with the spirits, for example. Like, I think it's safe to say that you'll recognize that a lot of them have a bit of an homage to the style of The Lonesome Ghost, that classic Disney cartoon. And then, of course, like you got this guy here, who is a legit boss in the game. And then there's also another one that I have noticed is this guy right over here, that you got like this skeleton warrior dude riding on a skeleton horse. And that I recognize is a direct homage to Fantasia during Night on Bald Mountain. There's this one scene where like a skeleton guy that does look like this, that's just riding up to Bald Mountain as Chernobog would go and make his ritual. And that's just like one of the many examples that you could actually find. Let me double check if there, I think there is also another one that I see. Well, I mean, oh, there it is actually. Oh, that was actually pretty quick. Hold on a sec. No. Hold on a sec. Yeah, right over here. Yeah. Oh, snap. Nope. Back it up. Yeah. Like, we also got this, like, evil, menacing-looking trio right over here. Highly detailed as well, but this one does remind me a lot of the evil trees in Snow White. Do you remember, like, when Snow White was, like, running away in the dark forest after she learned that the evil queen wanted to kill her? And then, like, you got these trees that do look like this. So that is another really nice homage there. So, like, overall, this is to say that, like the visuals are just amazing. Like, they are awe-astounding, and, like, you could even pinpoint, like, at every little detail to see, like, every single thing that the team behind this has done in order to really pay homage to classic 1930s and 1940s animation. The fact that they would go that far and really execute this, and like just the visuals alone is fun. And it's also very promising with what they are delivering in terms of the story, with the characters' personalities, really making them a lot of fun. And even like characters like Cuphead and Mugman are a bit more reminiscent to the classic archetypes that were used back then. I mean, nowadays it seems a little bit cliched, but then again, like, this is understandable why they're doing doing this because back then, well, it's the common archetype that people really love back then, where you got Cuphead himself that's a bit more of a rascal and like very, very outroverted and a true go-getter, where like often he finds himself in trouble just because he wants to go and like really have fun. And then like you got Mugman, that's more the cautionary one. That's all like whenever Cuphead has an idea, Mugman is the one that's always there like, I don't know about this, Cuphead. I don't think we should be doing this. Like it's very much a classic archetype that we do have here. And not to mention like other personalities that we see, even the devil, like for the little moments that he's there is a lot of fun. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the red guy from Cow and Chicken. Here's just one little example.
I love it when they run.
So like, yeah, you have those little moments there, like with the devil, like just being like sly and like I think the best way to put it is that he's just deliciously evil. Like he knows he's the bad guy. He knows he's the villain and just loves every second of it, which is often a very good recipe to have a fun villain that you could just enjoy and just love to hate in a way. However, there is also something that I do need to mention about this, and it's honestly kind of crazy because nowadays it's something that needs to be discussed because it was a wild reaction when this trailer actually did come out and actually spreaded a lot of controversy. In a way, some people could say that the Cuphead show turned out to be quite polarizing, mainly because there is one group of people within the cartoon community. They have a particular take on this. Now, a lot of people would say that it's a bad take. And honestly, I would say, yes, it's absolutely a bad take. It's the kind of take that you would expect out of a Mr. Enter video. Where the thing is, a lot of people actually did not like what they saw with the Cuphead show. And that is because they felt like they were lied to. Why? Because they noticed that the way the Cuphead show was made was obviously digital, and they wanted the Cuphead show to be made exactly like the game, to be purely hand-drawn, to use the ink and paint process and everything to make it exactly like how it was done in the games and back in Walt Disney's age when he was big and popular with Mickey Mouse. Yes, some people actually let out that kind of complaint. Okay, let me just go and say this. I really do admire what the people in the Cuphead game has done. It's just absolutely beautiful and one of the best looking games in recent years, and something that as an animation fan myself I could truly appreciate because of how it pays tribute to the golden age of animation. But that process is absolutely insane. As much as I do admire them, there's also another part of me that wonders, are you guys out of your freaking mind? Like do you guys like don't you guys care about your self-worth? Don't you realize that this process nowadays is considered torturous? Like, the only reason why anyone would legitimately want to do that ink and paint process with the cells and the hand-drawn animation and everything, the only reason that I could think of is because of, like, BDSM reasons. Because you get some kind of sexual drive out of it. You want to be so submissive where you want to tell your mistress, oh yes, please, make me do the ink and paint on the in-betweens. I've been a bad boy. Like, that's honestly the only reason that I can think of why someone would want to be willing to go and do that, because of how the process is almost clinically insane. It requires that much hard work where you have to sacrifice bits and pieces of your sanity just to do little moments of animation that would make it look perfect. Like, you could do that in digital, but if you do that naturally, it will come with a bit of a better look, but you're gonna lose your mind by doing so. But again, this is not to go and bash the people who worked on the Cuphead game. I highly do admire what they have done, but still, it doesn't change the fact that what they have done is purely insane. And the fact that there are people out there who actually expected that the team at Netflix would actually do that process with the Cuphead show. And keep in mind, this is not an animated feature. This is not a one-time thing that they would do. This is a syndicated series where these people have to make episode after episode after episode. And they were honestly expecting that the Cuphead process that they did in the games, they'll do the same thing in this. To those people who unironically expected that and are disappointed that Cuphead is not doing that, are you out of your freaking mind? Like, do you, like, why? Like, do you really, like, honestly, it's such, like, this is so ridiculous to think that the animators would really torture themselves just so you could appreciate that level of detail. I mean, like, it's already enough that like every small bit of detail that the animators have to do in order to emulate that style, like there's already that much hard work was put into it. But the fact that you do recognize that it's made digitally instead of actually being fully made in cell animation, that is the one thing that makes you say that it's bad. Now, granted, it is true that you could tell that there is a legitimate difference. Like, if you watch the Looney Tunes cartoons, it's very noticeable that they're trying to emulate that classic 1940s style, and yet they are using digital tools, and sometimes they would use them in order to go and cut around corners. I do get that. But then again, it could be for budgetary reasons, or it could be time constraints and stuff like that. But still, like, even if there is that limitation with Looney Tunes cartoons, that doesn't change that the animation done in that show is actually really, really good, that it actually looks extremely solid, and that it stays true to the original style of the Looney Tunes. Like, the people at Warner Brothers Animation did a phenomenal job with that show, in the same way that the people at Netflix did a great job with what we're seeing so far in this trailer of the Cuphead show. And the fact that you notice that and somehow label it as bad, it's like, it does make me wonder, do you not care about the people behind the scenes? Do you not care about, like, their well-being, about, like, their mental health and stuff like that? Because trust me, that old-fashioned style of animation, like, it's very tax-consuming. It's very taxing to the mental health and also physically as well. It could be very stressful. It could be very daunting and challenging beyond belief. And the fact that, like, you got, and the fact that there are people who don't care about that that they didn't take that extra mile to sacrifice themselves for their entertainment, it really shows that unfortunately the cartoon community still has a bit of that toxicity, that they do have a bit of that gatekeeping, entitlement mentality that is still within there, where they place themselves above everyone else. Like, I guess you could say that it is basically the customer is right mentality, where they think that the fans are like are like one of the most important people in the animation industry, and the only people that would be above them are like the executives and the show creators, and that's pretty much it. Like, the animators and the people who would work on these shows, those are nothing but servants to the fans, and that's it. Unfortunately, we are in a time where there is that toxicity. And yet, honestly, this needs to be mentioned as well, because unfortunately, this is something that has not been reported enough, but it really is like a dark stain amongst the cartoon community. This is a very unfortunate thing that actually did happen, and I know this might really put down the mood a little bit, but still, it needs to be worth mentioning, and still, it needs to be highlighted so that we can make this community better. Because unfortunately, for those of you who haven't heard on social media, unfortunately, there is one person who has unfortunately taken their life, and that is because they have been constantly bullied and constantly harassed, because this individual liked this one specific villain from The Miraculous Ladybug, and really got attacked hard for that again and again and again, which ultimately she couldn't handle the pressure from all the harassment. So unfortunately, that person did take their life, and it is very unfortunate. And again, it really goes to show that the cartoon community still has its massive problems. And I mean, yeah, some people could argue that it still has the same kind of very toxic like this very toxic brand and still has this very toxic mentality, as much as like all the other fan bases, like the Star Wars fan base, the anime fan base, and all that other stuff. But still, though, in terms of the cartoon community, I have seen some individuals that have grown and that they have become better in order to improve on the quality of the animation community. But the fact that we still have stuff like this, the fact that the cartoon community still has that evil mentality or that really entitled, messed up mentality where they do think that bullying, that harassment, gatekeeping, and all these other and like the entitlement and all these forms of toxic behavior is still acceptable because they place their cartoons above everyone else. And that's the sad reality that we are in, that we still have like those Lily Orchards or those Hero Hayes or those Mr. Enters or those Misanthroponies that are still going around acting so entitled and silencing those that have different opinions than others. It really is kind of like this dangerous moment. And that's why on social media, there have been a lot of posts where people have been ashamed of themselves to be a part of the cartoon community because they are technically still in that same bubble as those toxic individuals. And even myself, you guys know that I've always been very openly critical towards the cartoon community and even called them out on a few occasions on this podcast alone. And even at that, it's just something that for me, it's hard. Like, this is honestly why it's hard for me to say that I'm a part of the cartoon community or the animation community, because you still have to go and associate with like many of these toxic individuals that act so entitled and stuff like that. I mean, I know that I've had my toxicity in the past, but I've learned to grow from that. I've learned to be a lot more well-behaved and a lot more empathetic and a lot more compassionate. But still having this like Trump supporter mentality that is still infecting the cartoon community and is still causing these negative consequences, rather it be stuff that is absolutely stupid, like throwing in Mr. Enter levels of bad takes towards the Cuphead show, or like full-on harassment towards someone because they like this one miraculous ladybug character that not many other people do. It's just it's terrible. It very much is. But this is just something that I figured I wanted to highlight on this, because that's also another major thing that did happen this week, where the cartoon, like, even though the new year has started, 2022 has only begun, and we haven't even finished the first month, and already the cartoon community is screwing up and really letting out some very dangerous toxicity, and it needs to be called out. Like, we need to take action and really stop this kind of behavior, even if it is something as like, you know, as like harmless, well, not harmlessly stupid, but even if it is something as like entitlingly stupid as like the criticisms against the Cuphead show, or like the criticisms per se, but I mean those ones about like, oh, it's not done exactly like the games and stuff. Like, that's not really criticism. That's just entitlement for nothing. Like, we still need to go and call them out. We need to be vocal that this kind of behavior, no matter what, is not okay. So I just needed to go and quickly mention that. But overall, when it comes to the Cuphead show, what they are seeing so far with this, it is very promising. It feels like it's staying true to paying homage to the classic cartoons. And yeah, it definitely looks a lot of fun. And honestly, I personally cannot wait to go and see it. And if you guys would like to go and mark your calendars to see what's going to be coming up on Netflix and when it's going to be when the Cuphead show will be coming out, then keep in mind it will be February 18th when the series will be released. Okay, now, with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what did you think about this trailer for the Cuphead show? Did you guys enjoy what you just saw? Do you have any like little issues with it? Let me know what you think on this. Okay, let's see. After watching this trailer, holy roly, I suddenly got hyped for this show. I love the animation style for the 1930s cartoon, and not only Wayne Brady is voicing King Dice, but Greg Griffin is voicing Miss Chalice as well. I remember playing Cuphead after the release in 2017, and it really brings out the joy and actual run and gun game, especially if it looks like I'm watching a 1930s cartoon. Also, what was the hardest boss you ever faced? That is, if you ever played Cuphead before. Well, believe it or not, I have yet to actually start playing that game myself. I have seen a lot of like Let's Plays and stuff like that. And so far, I would say one of my favorites is Calamaria for simping purposes. No, but honestly, like, I have downloaded the game though on my Switch. Honestly, I've been holding it back because I wanted to save it for when I officially start bringing back AniMat's Plays, which I will if my Patreon does reach up to $2,000 a month. But honestly, I am thinking like I'll start eventually. You know, I'm already playing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, and once I'm done with that, I'll probably get into Cuphead and just go from there. All right, let's see. And I know, like, especially for someone like me who has yet to start playing Cuphead, and like, I know, but I will get into it, I promise. I know that at the very least in my lifetime, I shall be playing Cuphead. Let's see, what do we got here? I am super hyped for this show. As a person who played the game on my Switch, I have never been this hyped for a show in a while, as I love the show's loyalty to the original game and the 1930s and 1940s style of animation. Looking forward to this in February. All right. Let's see. I still haven't gotten around to playing Cuphead, but either way, this series looks really fun. The visual style really captures the 1940s aesthetic, and the comedy is pretty funny. If I decide to check it out, I may need to give the game a play to have a fresh memory. Also, does anyone else notice the guy that screams, "The devil!" sounds like Patrick? I'm just imagining if this guy says, oh my god, "If you two cops gamble away your souls to the devil, things are good." Wait, actually, no, let me just go. Wait, let me just redo this. "If you two cops gamble away your souls to the devil, things are gonna get crazy." Okay, we get it though, we get it. I just needed to go and do that now. I mean, I got the clip there, so I might as well make the most out of it. Okay, let's see. With this recent rise of great video game adaptations like Castlevania, Detective Pikachu, Sonic, and especially Arcane, this looks like yet another great addition to the collection. The animation is smooth as butter, the comedy is on point, and the characters look really fun with some great choices for the voice actors. I'll certainly watch it when it comes out. Good day for a swell battle. It's on! Alright, really nice. Let's see. I had no interest in Cuphead, but this animation is really, really fun. It's bouncy, smooth, and mimics the 1920s and 1930s style of cartoons. I might check it out. However, I think a bendy cartoon has more potential for a long-form show, but either way, it is fun. I'm going to admit I've never been a fan of cartoon designs of the Golden Age, but the emulation is an amazing detail that they honestly didn't need to do. But yeah, 2D fans complain like this confirms their elitism. Yeah, honestly, this is another example as to why I am not a fan of those people who say, like, who want to be like, oh, bring back 2D animation. Like, the more, you know, as time passed by, the more I realized that these people are just purely toxic, and they, like, honestly, they don't do favors for 2D animation. And I mean, like, yeah, I mean, you got like a lot, like, you got some good indie films out there that do 2D, like, you know, like the films of Cartoon Saloon, yet they don't care. They only want the mainstream studios. Like, they don't care about the indie filmmakers, or they don't care about any animators who actually do 2D animation right now. They just want specific companies to do 2D. And you know what? Those 2D people can go screw themselves. Not the animators, I mean the fanboys who want 2D to come back. I'll read one more comment before we go and move on to our next story. The cartoon community has been the most toxic community I've seen, and after hearing all the hate on this upcoming show and someone taking away their life with a different opinion, to one of my friends getting attacked for liking Mickey Mouse, I wish the community can calm themselves down. Also, not everything should be the same. Like, I'll admit, I am fine with making Ariel an Afro-Caribbean, and I'm fine with the Cuphead Show having a different style. Well, I mean, like, the style itself is fine. It's just people complaining about the way that it is being made, that it is not actually, like, the animators are not killing themselves for actually making it exactly like how the old masters would do it back then. So overall, though, this is something that is worth talking about, not just because it is a great trailer, but also because of what happened with the community and how they really unleashed their toxicity, and overall how, well, the cartoon community still has a lot of problems that it needs to settle. So yeah, please don't do any gatekeeping. Let go of your ego, like let go of the entitlement, stuff like that. Just shut up and enjoy the show. Okay, oh boy, that was a long segment right there. But now it's time that we shall go and move on to our next story. And with our next one, we are actually going to go into the miraculous world of Disney. And when it comes to Disney, there have been a couple of news that came out that a lot of people really talked about. One of which is the fact that Disney is going to make a live-action remake of the Aristocats, which got a lot of people worried, mainly because, well, let's just say that the last time that a live-action movie featuring cats came out, it was one of the biggest Hollywood disasters of all time. Like, I could still imagine there are plenty of people out there that have, like, PTSD-like visions where they imagine, like, certain scenes from that film to the soundtrack of Memory, turn your face to the moonlight. I might have butchered that song. I'm sorry about that, folks. But anyways, yeah, so there is that news, but that's not the one I'll be covering. What I will talk about instead is something that, well, people are just not doing. We keep telling you not to do this, and yet you do so anyways. We keep saying, don't talk about Bruno, and yet that seems to be the number one thing people have completely disobeyed to do. So much so that it is now breaking records and topping the charts. Yes, this week, just recently, Weird Al Talk About Bruno, the popular song from the latest Disney film Encanto, is really climbing up in the Billboard Hot 100, down to the point where just recently, We Don't Talk About Bruno has made it up to number 4 in the Hot 100, which this managed to break the record of Frozen's Let It Go, which back in the peak of its popularity on April 2014, it has managed to go up to number 5 in the Billboard Hot in the Billboard Hot 100, but never made it up to number 4. Which means that right now, We Don't Talk About Bruno is the highest charting Disney animated song hit in 26 years, ever since 1995. In fact, let me go into a little bit more detail as to what happened specifically. Reading from my source here on Entertainment Weekly, as it states, the song credited to the cast of Encanto. I'm not even going to try to read these names because I know that I am going to butcher them. Apologies if I don't do so, but trust me, it's just for now it's a bit of a tongue twister. I would need like a full day to just like get these names right and know how to pronounce them correctly. Anyways, the song reached its new peak position of number 4 on this week's chart thanks to 29 million streams and 8,000 downloads sold. Those numbers helped it surpass Idina Menzel's rendition of Let It Go, which reached number 5 in April of 2014. The only other songs from animated Disney films to reach a top 5 position on the chart are Peabo Bryson and Regina Bell's Aladdin smash A Whole New World, which hit number 1 in 1993, Elton John's Can You Feel the Love Tonight from The Lion King, which made it up to number 4 in 1994, and Vanessa Williams' Pocahontas soundtrack song Colors of the Wind, which also reached number 4 in 1995. It is also worth mentioning that even the whole album itself has managed to make history amongst animated films, where it even states here, Encanto's accompanying soundtrack album previously became only the 6th animated soundtrack in history to top the Billboard 200 ranking, before falling to number 3 on this week's chart. So that's pretty much the big thing. The fact that We Don't Talk About Bruno is such a big hit that it even managed to surpass the accomplishment done by Frozen's Let It Go. And that's pretty much the reason why you see all these memes going around of how Encanto, I guess you could say, dethroned Frozen, where now Mirabelle is the new Disney queen instead of Elsa, and that Let It Go is no longer the latest pop Disney hit that they have put out over the years. And now it belongs to We Don't Talk About Bruno. And this is on top of many of the other hits that Disney has right now, including Surface Pressure, What Else Can I Do, Welcome to the Family Madrigal, also my personal favorite, Waiting on a Miracle. And all those other songs out there, like the soundtrack itself is just absolutely amazing. And the team at Disney and Lin-Manuel Miranda did such a great job with them. But anyways, going back into We Don't Talk About Bruno, the fact that it has made it to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100, what I find to be very fascinating about this is and this is honestly something that I feel like not many people are actually talking about, and I feel like it should, because We Don't Talk About Bruno has done something that not many other Disney animated hits has actually done. Like, not even like the classic ones like Can You Feel the Love Tonight or A Whole New World and all those songs over there. And that is the fact that it's amazing of how fast it became such a massive hit. Like, just how quickly it managed to rise up to the charts after its popularity. Because you really got to keep in mind, when it comes to the popularity of Encanto, so far, as I'm recording this, it's only been a month since Encanto has currently become the #1 animated feature right now. Like, the most talked about, the most popular, and the most beloved. So far, the popularity has only been a month. And I know that technically it's been 2 months since the movie was actually released, because the film actually did come out on American Thanksgiving in theaters. But unfortunately, we do live in an age where when an animated film gets released in theaters, not many people really seem to care all that much. And yeah, I know it's a bit of a hot take that I might upset like some movie theater fans out there, but when it comes to animated features, movie theaters are not really that commercially viable, which is why we see Disney pulling moves such as taking Turning Red away from theaters and putting it onto Disney Plus. But the reason why is because what we are seeing right now with Encanto, the popularity is because of how it was released on Disney Plus, how it was immediately available to everyone once it did land on the streaming service and had everybody watching it, and right now have everybody talking about it and have everybody listening to the songs, including We Don't Talk About Bruno. And what makes it interesting is because when you think about the other major Disney hits, whether it be A Whole New World or Let It Go or Can You Feel the Love Tonight and stuff like that, often those need a bit of time before they really got their popularity to go and peak. Like, they needed time to make sure that like they wanted to have like their song like get some notice, get some attention, and then really become popular to the point where it managed to top the charts. And even with Let It Go, for example, keep in mind, I said that it reached up to number 5 in the top 100 on April 2014. And when it comes to some of these songs, such as A Whole New World or Let It Go, they needed the Academy Awards in order to give them that big push. The fact that they are Oscar-winning songs is the fact that really got them a lot more attention, especially the performances that they would deliver at the Oscars. That was also something that really did give them a big push, despite the fact that their respective movies were released back in November. So that's one major example of like these animated hits. And even with stuff like Colors of the Wind or Can You Feel the Love Tonight, those ones also did take a little bit of time. It's not like the movies came out and they became immediate sensations. They also required a few more months just so they could get a bit more notice until they would get popular. But then again, you could argue that, well, stuff like Pocahontas, Lion King, and Aladdin, well, those ones were released back in the 90s. So those were like back in the infancy of the internet. That was before the internet went mainstream. But nowadays we are in a completely different age, where the fact is we are now in the internet age, the digital age, and really the big one that has managed to like be amongst the same ranks as those songs back in the 90s was just Frozen with Let It Go. But now We Don't Talk About Bruno has now managed to do the same thing in only 1 month of its popularity. And the crazy thing about it is that you don't know if this is actually something that you don't know if this means that this is its peak. You don't know if this means that with We Don't Talk About Bruno, like it reached the peak of its popularity and it will go down from there. Like, who knows? Maybe we'll actually see it go up to like number 3, number 2, or even do the impossible and be the first ever since A Whole New World be at number 1. It's a crazy achievement, but it could be possible. I mean, the soundtrack has managed to go at number 1, so who's to say that maybe We Don't Talk About Bruno can do the same thing? It just depends if people are still on board and if they still want to get into it. However, as much as people are like celebrating right now of the fact that We Don't Talk About Bruno has dethroned Let It Go and that it really is popular right now, there is something about it that is also very concerning. Now, keep in mind, what I'm about to say right here is just a theory. This is nothing more but a speculation, and I could totally be wrong with what I am saying, but it's just that with the way that I am seeing right now with Encanto, the fact that right now it is the biggest and most talked about animated feature right now and has songs that are topping the charts and are like really popular and being played again and again and again with We Don't Talk About Bruno, I feel like there may be a chance that Encanto might be the next Frozen. Now, you might be wondering, how is that even possible? Like, it's hard to even imagine that Encanto right now would end up having the same reputation as what Frozen has right now. Well, you really got to think about it, because the thing is with Frozen, back when it was released at the end of 2013 and its popularity continued on in the start of 2014, Frozen was at one point like in a similar spot to how Encanto is right now, that it was the biggest and the most talked about animated feature, that everyone was loving it, that it was the most popular thing. It was like the biggest thing that Disney has released since their Renaissance movies, like with The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. But then over time, because of the fact that people kept on playing Let It Go again and again and again, and the fact that we saw all this merchandise going around with Elsa, Anna, Olaf, and all those characters, like it's almost as if every corner you turn, you would see something from Frozen. That's when it started to get a lot of backlash, and suddenly the hate started to slowly but surely accumulate. And because of how Frozen was the biggest animated feature, and debatably it was the biggest animated feature of the decade, it became the brand new target of getting a lot of hate, where over time, after its popularity and after it had its time to shine, that's when we start to see a lot more people saying that they hate Frozen, that they don't think it's that great of a movie. But the thing is, like, yeah, everybody can have their opinion about Frozen or whatever movie, and that's perfectly fine. But because of the popularity, it would go and like significantly grow that hate, where people like have bottled up their emotions and just let out steam and just say like, I can't take Frozen Frozen anymore. And that's when we start to see, like, even on YouTube, where you got like these video after video after video of people saying that Frozen is overrated, Frozen is actually a bad movie. And even like when they would go and release like all the extra Frozen stuff, like with Frozen Fever back in 2015, or even especially Frozen 2 back in 2019, that continued the popularity of Frozen, that also really mounted more of the backlash, because they're seeing more of Elsa, of Olaf, of Anna, and all those characters, and more of that, and like really accumulated more of the hate. And well, personally, I'll just say right now, like, I'm not ashamed to say that I really like the Frozen movies. I think the first Frozen, easily one of the best animated features of the last decade. The second one, I don't think it's as good as the first, but still really good on its own. I think it's very well made and a great addition to the Disney collection. But I do personally find that it is a bit too, like, I think it's a bit overhated. Like, the hatred and the backlash that it got is a bit too extreme. I feel like there are people out there, like, who would they would express a lot more hatred towards something like Frozen than compared to actual bad movies like the Emoji Movie, for example. So from there, like, but my point is that, like, the hate that Frozen is experiencing right now is because of the oversaturation that they have been seeing over the years. And I mean, I perfectly understand. Like, if you're just sick and tired of seeing Frozen everywhere, that I do get it. I understand not liking a song because it's been playing way too many times, or like being in a society where every corner you turn, all you see is either Elsa or Olaf or something like that. Okay, that I can completely understand. But that, because it's like a little too overpopular, that doesn't mean that the movie is bad. Like, I feel like the way that people are kind of handling their sick and tired nature of seeing Frozen everywhere, like, it's a bit unhealthy, and like going after Frozen for what's honestly for all the wrong reasons. Now, what is my point in all this? Well, the thing is that considering that Frozen was once the most popular animated film of its time, I feel like right now, with the popularity that Encanto has, it's almost going into that same direction where, honestly, I could actually imagine that Encanto might be the next Frozen, where after its popularity, like maybe in a few months or in a few years' time, that's going to be the new movie in which a lot of people are just going to pop out and say that, well, actually, Encanto is not really that good of a movie, and I'll point to you all these problems that it has here. And then there's also, we don't talk about Bruno, the fact that, like, it is being overplayed and is being played again and again and again, and there's going to be people out there who are going to go and start to say that they're sick and tired of hearing it, or that they're sick and tired of listening to Lin-Manuel Miranda in general because of the oversaturation of the song on the internet, on the radio, and everywhere you go. It's like there's no escape to this song because everybody is just playing it to death. Now, again, I know that I could totally be wrong with this theory, and that maybe things could actually go better with the reputation of Encanto. But I'm just saying right now, considering that it is a Disney animated feature, and considering that Disney is currently the biggest entertainment company in the world, it really is a perspective of fighting against the man, of fighting against those who are at the top. And whoever is the representative of those who are at the top, whether it be Mickey or Elsa, or maybe even Mirabel and Bruno, they'll be more than happy to go and attack it. There is that group of people that do believe in the mentality that hating on, you're cool if you hate on something that is currently popular, rather it be something like right now with Frozen or even the Despicable Me movies. So honestly, with all of this right now, I know that it seems hard to imagine right now because we are still in the height of Encanto's popularity. It is still the most talked about and the most beloved animated feature out there, where people are making numerous of fan art of the characters. Like there's a lot of love right now, not just for Bruno, but also for characters like Dolores or Camilo and all those like all the other Mirabels. No, the Madrigals, sorry. All the other Mirabels. Sorry about that. But yeah, like I know it's hard to imagine now, but give it time And that's going to be the point where we may have to wait and see with how this popularity is. Maybe there will be some people who will look back at this and they will be a bit irked about it. And like, who knows? But I just feel like so far, like with the way that We Don't Talk About Bruno is being played so much, I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we're going to see those people that will be sick and tired of the song itself. And then that hate and that, you know, and that tired nature will eventually balloon up to Lin-Manuel Miranda, to Disney, to Encanto, and like people will go back to just hating on Disney again because of the oversaturation of their animated features. So I just want to go and put that out right there. Like, I know I could totally be wrong, but it's just a little bit of a warning with how things are right now. But still, that doesn't change with what has already been accomplished. Frozen at the time managed to do its record-breaking hit, and right now Encanto is doing well with its record-breaking hit. So congratulations to the team at Disney and the team who worked on Encanto for making a major animated feature with a song that's already topping the charts. All right, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall. And I would like to ask you all, what do you think about We Don't Talk About Bruno topping the charts even more so than Let It Go? Are you guys happy about it? How do you feel? How do you feel about the future of Encanto? Let me know what you think. Okay. Let's see. I would love to give a big congrats to Disney for dethroning Let It Go to have We Don't Talk About Bruno as Disney's biggest song right now. As for the future of Encanto, that's something we got to keep an eye on. You made an excellent point, Matt. Considering that the movie has such a huge popularity, it may be the next Frozen with a lot of lovers and a lot of haters. But still, Encanto is an excellent movie, and the songs were very catchy and fun. Exactly. And for me, like, honestly, I really like both. I really like Encanto, and I really like Frozen. So honestly, for me, either way, it's a win-win. Anyways, let's see. When you spoke, I turned on the app of my local radio station to see if We Don't Talk About Bruno would be playing. Sadly, it never did, but I'll still keep the tab open. But in all seriousness, Disney must be really kicking themselves for only submitting Dos Oruguitas for the Oscars. I mean, yeah, Dos Oruguitas, great song, but why not submit Bruno as well? But regardless, I'm still glad now we have an excuse to talk about Bruno. Well, I've already talked about this in a previous episode, and that's because Disney didn't really know. You got to keep in mind that when they submitted the songs to be nominated for award season, it was way before anyone could know what would be the next big hit song. Like, I think it's safe to say that nobody expected We Don't Talk About Bruno to be this popular right now. So honestly, if Disney I think like what Disney made a mistake is the release date of Encanto. If they released it in the summer instead of releasing it in American Thanksgiving, then they would actually know what would be the popular song and what to actually submit at the Oscars. But again, I wouldn't say Disney did a stupid move because, you know, because they didn't submit We Don't Talk About Bruno as the big Oscar winner, because they didn't know. Nobody knew at the time when they had to go and submit it. Let's see what else we got here. Since you plan to discuss this story, I just got a word about an 11th hour news break of a follow-up where Billboard officially announced that We Don't Talk About Bruno has climbed from number 4 to number 2 on the Hot 100 chart, making this the third highest topping Disney song chart on the song, beating out Colors of the Wind. In regards, congratulations to Lin-Manuel Miranda and the rest of the Encanto music team for this historic achievement. Holy crap! So we got this major update. So, wow, this could actually be possible. This could legit actually happen where We Don't Talk About Bruno may actually make it up to number 1. Like, not only did it not only did it beat out Colors of the Wind, but it even beat out Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Holy crap! All right, so wow, maybe it could reach at number 1. This is actually pretty interesting now. Let's see. You got that right. Plus, I highly doubt that there won't be another franchise that would compete with Encanto's popularity, like what happened before with Frozen and Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay. That's a short and sweet one. There we go. People are talking about Bruno when we weren't supposed to talk about Bruno. Seriously, have we learned nothing, people? All in all, I don't want Encanto to become the next Frozen, where it has worn out its welcome. With your statement, AniMat, to quote the late and great Meatloaf, you took the words right out of my mouth. Well, I'm just saying, you never know with how the internet can be. And sometimes when the internet loves something, sometimes they can love it a bit too much, where they could be a little bit too in your face with something. You know, it's how the internet is built, unfortunately, with social media. Let's see now. For someone that really enjoyed Encanto a lot, I really am glad that we don't talk about Bruno's song Surpass Let It Go, and absolutely deserves to do so. While I think it is better than Frozen in terms of story structure, the way these songs were made in Encanto is nothing but catchy, except for the final song at the end, and I can't stop listening to them since. Seeing the Bruno song surpass the Billboard charts is something I would like to see, and I'm glad it did so. Congrats overall. All right. I'll read 2 more comments before we jump into the next story now. I'm actually very happy that We Don't Talk About Bruno has become a massive hit, especially considering personally I consider it my favorite song from Encanto. As for Encanto becoming the next Frozen, I can actually see that happening, since Encanto is almost as talked about as much as Spider-Man No Way Home. Also, I can imagine people just rage about it and act like the angry mob in the animation that Toucan LDM did in your Animation Look Back Disney Plus series. You never know. It could possibly happen. Let's see. Yes, this one. I might be a bit salty, but having not watched Encanto, I could care less about a specific song being at #1 in the Disney music charts. What I would like to be a real thing is bring back the gigantic script, make it either 2D or CGI, but add in not Lin-Manuel Miranda to the music, but Christopher Tin, the writer of Baba Yetu and song. Now that would be an enormous success. You never know, man, and sometimes when projects get canceled, it is for the best. Like with Gigantic in this case, as much as the concept sounds very promising, and as much as people like the idea of it, sometimes, like, maybe it's for the best because they don't have a right execution. And with Disney, they often have some extremely high standards. And if they don't meet, like, just because it's a great concept, that doesn't mean that they should go and immediately go and do so. Because if they decide to release it as like how it was before, then people are just going to be upset with the fact that, well, it came out as a pretty weak film. So just keep that in mind, that it is for the best. Okay, so moving on to our next story. We are going to go back to Netflix, and we shall be discussing regarding a studio that often has not been talked about, but I know for a fact is highly beloved. Yes, we shall discuss about Aardman, and Aardman has a couple of projects that are coming soon, and these aren't just any little regular projects, and they're not just movies as well. These are actually the comeback of some of their most beloved characters. And what we have here is actually regarding the comeback of Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit. Yes, folks, you probably have heard that there is going to be a brand new Chicken Run movie that is going to be coming soon, a sequel to Chicken Run, and that is something that we have heard for a while, and it might be a little bit controversial, in which I will get to later, but just recently in the week, Aardman has actually revealed some brand new information regarding this new Chicken Run sequel. Not only did we get a title, not only did we get a release date for which specific year of when it comes out, but we even got a brand new cast, some of which are actually going to be coming back. Reading from my source here on Animation Magazine, let's go ahead and talk about Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, to which it states here, having pulled off a death-defying escape from Tweety's farm, Ginger, which shall now be voiced by Tandwi Newton, has finally found her dream, a peaceful island sanctuary for the whole flock, far from the dangers of the human world. when she and Rocky, which will now be played by Zachary Levi, hatch a little girl called Molly, who will be played by Bella Ramsey, Ginger's happy ending seems complete. But back on the mainland, the whole of chicken kind faces a new and terrible threat. For Ginger and her team, even if it means putting their own hard-won freedom at risk, this time, they're breaking in. Directed by Sam Fell, who previously worked on Flushed Away, The Tale of Despero, and Paranorman, from a script by Carrie Kirkpatrick, John O'Farrell, and Rachel Tunard, the comedy-adventure sequel also features voices of Jane Horrock, who is coming back as Babs, Imelda Staunton, who will be returning as Bundy, Lynn Ferguson returning as Mac, Josie Sedgwick Davies playing a new character called Frizzle, David Bradley playing as Fowler, Romesh Ranganathan playing as Nick, Daniel Mays as Fetcher, and Nick Mohammed as Dr. Fry. Now, this is just for the Chicken Run sequel that's going to be coming soon. But keep in mind, there is also another movie that I have mentioned, and this is honestly the biggest surprise, much more than the news we got with the Chicken Run sequel, is the fact that there is indeed going to be another Wallace and Gromit movie. And not just any Wallace and Gromit movie, but one that will be directed by the series creator, Nick Park, alongside Merlin Crossingham. Now, we actually did have a bit of a... Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, when it comes to the Chicken Run movie, we don't know specifically when it's going to be coming out, but we know that this film is going to be released in 2023. But anyways, back onto the Wallace and Gromit movie. This is actually going to be a movie that will be coming out in 2024. Now, beforehand, it will be released exclusively on BBC as its premiere, but then it will be released in 2024. But anyways, going back into this, the plot line that we have for that movie, it says here, in the new movie, Gromit's concern that Wallace has become over-dependent on his inventions proves justified when Wallace invents a smart gnome that seems to develop a mind of its own. As events spiral out of control, it falls to Gromit to put aside his qualms and battle sinister forces, or Wallace may never be able to invent again. And keep in mind that these are going to be movies that globally they shall be released on Netflix. So again, just to repeat, the Chicken Run sequel, Dawn of the Nugget, will be coming out on Netflix in 2023, as the Wallace and Gromit movie will be coming out in 2024. Now, I'll just say right now that, of course, I am a fan of Aardman. Like, I really do enjoy a lot of their movies. Lately, they have been a bit weak, especially with some of their newer feature films. Like, Early Man wasn't really that great, to be honest. But when it comes to, like, many of their classic stuff, especially, like, with Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run, those are masterpieces. I adore these films, and I would even go as far and say that they are some of the best stop-motion films of all time, like even right up there with stuff like Coraline, The Nightmare Before Christmas, and many, many more. I adore these films, but I will admit that when I first heard of the fact that there is going to be a Chicken Run sequel, I was a bit confused, honestly. Like, I was a bit weirded out by the idea, because the thing is with Chicken Run, I feel like it's a great movie that stands well on its own. It's not the kind that necessarily needs a follow-up. I can't really imagine like more stories that you would tell with characters with characters like Ginger and Rocky and all those other chickens. Like, it's the kind that really is meant to be its own standalone movie. It's supposed to be like this, it's supposed to be this chicken-themed prison escape movie, and they have done so. So I can't really imagine what else can you really do with these characters, or how else can you really go and follow up? Not to mention that it's one of those sequels that kind of feels a bit unnecessary. Like, do we really need the return of characters like Ginger and Rocky? And I mean, yeah, I love these characters so much, but do we need like more of these characters? Now, granted, I would say that maybe it would be a great idea if we see like a whole bunch of like small animated shorts, like just little adventures in their new paradise, like either make a series or just make like a little animated short out of that, but nothing too spectacular. Like, I'll just say that it's going to be an extremely difficult act to follow, like, after what they have done with the first Chicken Run. It's going to be hard to imagine how you can go and create something that could be on that level. But then there is also the cast, in which there are a few people that did actually return, but when it comes to many of the main ones, especially, they have been completely replaced. And this is the one thing that has been considered to be extremely controversial when it comes to this Chicken Run announcement. It is the fact that Julie Sawalha, I believe, is the original voice of Ginger, the fact that she did not return for some reason. Like, I get why they wouldn't recast Mel Gibson. They don't want to bring him back. And I mean, the dude has been proven to be a bit mentally unstable, especially with having a very bigoted mentality, being openly racist, and especially being openly anti-Semitic. It's not necessarily someone that you would want to bring to your kid-friendly animated feature. Not necessarily a good idea. But when it comes to Julie Sawalha, there's not really that much of a reason why they wouldn't recast her. In fact, when the Chicken Run sequel was actually announced, she was actually vocal of how she was very disappointed of the fact that she wasn't brought back. She even went as far as actually re-record some of her lines to prove that she could still play the part. She could still actually play as Ginger. And that's honestly something that even for me, I do find a little bit confusing. And it's honestly something that I feel like, yeah, it does suck a little bit that they didn't bring her back, especially especially after when we did see how like she was very distraught about it, and that she has proven that she still has a bit of that magic, that she can still go and play as Ginger. But sadly, I guess those cries have ultimately been ignored, and now we do have a new actress playing her with Fandwy Newton. And, you know, this is not to bash Fandwy Newton, and I have heard from friends who tell me that apparently she would, like, if there's anyone who would ultimately replace Julie, it would be her. And apparently, like, I haven't fully checked it out myself, mainly because of everything that's been happening throughout the week, but apparently she does have a pretty solid voice that could be a suitable replacement. But still, it's like one of those things that's just very disappointing to hear. You know, it's kind of like with what we have recently seen with Hotel Transylvania, the fact that Adam Sandler is not going to be in, but Brian Hall has taken his place. It's like, you know, I'm really glad for the new actor, but, you know, I would, like, there is still a part of me that would really wish the old actor would come back. And not to mention the fact that, like, it does feel a bit hypocritical and kind of douchey, where the fact that they would bring in other characters or they would bring in other actors to actually play the parts. Like, keep in mind, Babs, Bunty, and Mac, they all have their original actors returning. Like, those are the only ones that are coming back from the original animated feature, and yet they wouldn't put in the effort to go and bring back Julie. Like, that is something that I know is going to be heavily controversial, and especially amongst Chicken Run fans, will be massively discussed, especially next year as we do get closer to the movie's release. But one thing I will say, to its credit, holy crap, the replacement that they got for Rocky, I don't know if they could find anyone who would be better than Zachary Levi. Because I'll admit, yes, it's technically true that, you know, Zachary Levi doesn't really sound like Mel Gibson. Like, he has one octave a bit higher than Mel. But then again, I will say, like, when you think about the performances that he has done with the variety of characters that he has played over the years, he's got the perfect charisma to play as Rocky, especially when you do compare Rocky to Eugene from Tangled, rather it be the series or the 2010 movie. Like, I feel like Flynn Rider or Eugene, he pretty much he's pretty much Disney's version of Rocky, where he has that same charisma, where he has a bit of that liar mentality, where he's trying to portray himself as someone that he's not. You know, and especially the way that like he tries to charm the ladies, the way that he's being like a flirt and a bit of an egomaniac as well. Like, honestly, I think that is perfect casting right there. And that is honestly one thing that I'm very much excited to see is Zachary Levi playing as Rocky. That I think is a great move that they have done right there. But that is my opinion so far with what we have gotten with Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget. But then when it comes to this new announcement of the fact that there is going to be a new Wallace and Gromit movie in which Nick Park is going to be coming back to be one of the directors. Okay, this, I gotta say, I am freaking excited. I am a big fan of Wallace and Gromit. I really do enjoy the animated shorts. My personal favorite would probably be A Close Shave. And I really, really love Curse of the Were-Rabbit. It truly is a masterpiece and just a movie that is a lot of fun. And that one, I feel like this makes a lot more sense to make a sequel compared to Chicken Run. That I can actually see that you would have a lot more materials to work with, because technically with Wallace and Gromit, that one is actually more meant to be like a series thing. Like, technically, it's not necessarily just one movie. It's just two characters, two different personalities that work together. And that gives you a lot of materials for not just a whole bunch of shorts, but also a whole bunch of other ideas for movies as well. And I would be more than happy to see another movie that could be in the veins of Curse of the Were-Rabbit, especially with all these cartoons, that they add this extra element that we have never seen from any other animated feature, even to this day. And that is playing around with the element of suspense, where like there's kind of like this light horror that is attached to it, but it's also something that never takes itself seriously and just has a lot of fun, which does result in a lot of very iconic moments. I mean, who could forget about the very famous and beloved chase scene with the penguin and Gromit and Wallace all around Wallace's house in the wrong trousers? Like, that scene was just a lot of fun to see. The fast pace, the intensity, especially the fact that you see the penguin just shooting at Gromit and Wallace. Just everything about it just works so well together. The fact that they would blend in all these different genres together to create this fun adventure, that is something that I cannot wait to see more of. And I would love to see another movie with that, especially with the addition of Wallace and Gromit. And even though I was a bit more critical in the past with Nick Park after he did release Early Man, honestly, I do trust the guy that he is working with Wallace and Gromit again. That is something that for me, I'm just very much excited about. So overall, when it comes to Aardman stuff, I feel a little bit mixed. When it comes to the Chicken Run sequel, that one I am very iffy. As a fan of the first Chicken Run, I don't know if we really do need a sequel, but there are a few elements that I will say is very promising, especially with some people in the cast, like Zachary Levi as Rocky, and some of the other characters that are going to be reprising their roles, like Imelda Staunton, Jack Horrocks, and Lynn Ferguson. And I'll be open-minded to hear what Thandwi Newton has playing as Ginger. I don't know, like with this one, I feel like I'm going to be a little bit more cautious, but I am definitely a lot more excited with what they have in store with the Wallace and Gromit movie. Now that is something I will be excited and looking forward to. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall and ask you all, how do you feel about this new announcement of the Chicken Run movie and with the Wallace and Gromit movie? Are you guys excited for this to come out? Are you guys a little bit more cautious about it? Let me know what you all think on this. Okay, let's see what we got. I am definitely excited for the Chicken Run sequel and getting to see them train the next generation of chickens, but I am upset about replacing the leading roles, and I understand about Mel Gibson with his history and all, but I do not understand Julia Sawalha. Is there something that you know that we don't know, but Zachary Levi could be fun, and they could just use a pitch fader to lower his voice down a bit. Definitely checking this out day one when it comes out. Well, okay, the pitch thing, it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, even though the sound itself may not be the same, what's more important is to get the soul of the character, is to get the energy, to get the charisma and all that kind of stuff. You like, I could be voicing Frollo, but as long as I could actually, you know, like, yes, the same Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, like, I could actually voice the guy, and like, I know with my voice, my pitch is way too high compared to Tony J, but as long as I could get his mannerisms, his charisma, his personality, then that is the most important part. So, you know, like, you don't need to go and like alter the shift. As long as you can get the personality, you're good. Let's see what else we got here. As a humongous Chicken Run, Wallace and Gromit, Aardman, and stop motion fan, I can't seem to wipe the smile off my face. Well, for the most part. I'm still a bit niffed about the voice cast change, but I won't let that stand in my way from watching Chicken Run 2 and the next Wallace and Gromit movie, as long as they're enjoyable. You know what would be the best food to eat while watching Wallace? Cheese and crackers. And now allow me to say this in Wallace's voice. Cracking comeback, eh, Gromit? Oh my god, that would be an amazing thing that they would sell in the movie theaters. Like, that would be the one thing you gotta get, like, nachos with a lot of, like, cheese sauce and stuff. Well, if we're gonna be watching Wallace and Gromit, we need to buy ourselves some cheese. Okay, anyways, what else do we have here? I've seen both Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit. I'm pretty hyped for the latter, but the former I'm not sure of it. The original voice of Ginger is getting replaced as a weird decision and somewhat disappointing. As for Wallace and Gromit, I wonder if they're going to bring in Ben Whitehead as a replacement of Peter Sallis, who passed away a few years back, but either way, I'm interested in this. I believe he is the current voice of Wallace, right? Like, if so, then I think they're gonna keep him on board for sure. Like, I remember back in Wallace and Gromit Curse of the Were-Rabbit, like, for the production of that, like, Aardman had to work very hard to ensure that they don't like force in too many celebrity voices, or like, well, not from themselves, but DreamWorks was demanding too many celebrity voices to be included. Now, they have done some compromises, like they added Helena Bonham Carter into this, but when it comes to like Wallace's voice, they try to make sure that it is still Peter Sallis no matter what. Let's see, who else do we have here? Looks like Netflix is the new permanent home of Aardman after making success there with Shaun the Sheep and Robin. Did you see the latter, by the way? Honestly, no, I have not. For Chicken Run 2, I remain hesitant, especially how the first film ended perfectly. For the new Wallace and Gromit, I would definitely be excited to see this film. Overall, it is a mixed bag for me, but I hope Aardman continues to do well on Netflix. All right, that is nice. To see the return of two of my childhood favorites with Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit is certainly amazing. It does feel weird that Chicken Run will get a sequel since its ending it seems rather conclusive, but I'm interested to see which direction they will take to it, though it is still dumb that Julia will not return as Ginger. As for Wallace and Gromit, it's Wallace and Gromit. Do I really need to talk about how great they are? I'm excited as heck for this, and I'll check this out. All right, awesome. I absolutely love the Wallace and Gromit film, so I'm extremely excited for the new one. Also, considering the plot, is it safe to say The Simpsons predicted this? If you saw the Angry Dad the movie episode, you know what I mean. But then again, what did the Simpsons not predict nowadays? Anyways, as for Chicken Run 2, the film sounds absolutely fantastic, especially with Zachary Levi's involvement. Even though I haven't seen this film before I watch the sequel, I need to check out the first, all quiet like a fish. Real cute there, real cute. All right, one more comment before we move on to the next story. I believe I read that one. All right, I'll go for, no, I read you as well. Is there one that, oh, okay. There we go. I remember watching Chicken Run a lot as a kid. Honestly, the reason why Julie was not asked to return is probably this: ageism and mainstream notability. Julia is 53 years old. That's the age when a woman, because it's a thing that happens to women in entertainment, is quote unquote too old to be a leading lady. Her voice is not wrong. It's simply her not being familiar enough for English-speaking audiences. The other older women are fine to return because, well, they're not the leads. Still, though, and I mean, technically I would say you are right. And even Julia herself even accused them of ageism, but still, like, it kind of sucks. And I mean, there are still some arguments that you could say that she would still be a pretty good fit. And honestly, what doesn't make sense for me, it makes me think back about Toy Story 4, where Annie Potts returned as Bo Peep, and it was like the first time she did so in literally 20 years. And yet she still sounded fine. She still sounded great. In fact, I would say Bo Peep in that movie, like, she was one of the best. She was honestly one of the best things about Toy Story 4. And oh boy, I gotta say, like, I'm not gonna lie, I may have that version of Bo Peep on my waifu list. I'm just saying. But yeah, the thing is that if Annie Potts could come back playing as Bo Peep after 20 years, why can't Julia do the same with Ginger? It's just, there's just something about it that I feel like it doesn't necessarily make sense. And it's honestly very unfortunate. All right, so moving right along to our next story, what I got here is actually something that I personally adore. This is all related to my favorite music artist, and I don't care if this is not animation or anything like that. I just know that I gotta talk about this, and I don't care where it is, I don't care what it's about or how accurate it is. I need to go and check this one out. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out the Weird Al biopic. Yes, folks, it is official. Roku is going to be producing a biopic based on the life of Weird Al Yankovic. Specifically, this is actually going to be a film adaptation of the Funny or Die parody trailer of this Weird Al biopic. For those of you who don't know, back in 2013, Funny or Die actually made this oh, excuse me. I don't know why I'm more gassy than usual today. But anyways, Funny or Die back in 2013, they actually made this parody trailer in which it shows like this goofy biopic that's like trying too hard to take itself seriously, but it knows that it's not. That is all based on the life of Weird Al Yankovic. And it has a few different celebrities. Even Al himself appeared in there a few times. And it actually had Aaron Paul of Breaking Bad fame play the part. In fact, I actually do have a little clip right over here, like just to show you an example of this.
You don't understand me!
Face it, honey. Our boy is weird.
I know he's weird. I think I've always known.
By changing the lyrics and making them about food, you could change the world.
Nobody wants to hear a parody song when they can hear the real thing for the same price.
2 words. Eat it.
Coming to stage next, this guy's a first-timer, Weird Al Yankovic.
Hope you guys are ready for this.
Just eat it, get yourself an egg and beat it.
Yeah, and honestly, I do recommend you guys go and check this out. It's actually a pretty funny video right there. And honestly, for me, as someone who does watch Breaking Bad, I just find it funny how, like, even in something like this, by the way, the video itself is called Weird, the Al Yankovic story. But anyways, I love how the fact that even in this, Aaron Paul just has that same Jesse-like energy he has in Breaking Bad while portraying as Weird Al. I just find it to be really funny. But yes, the point that I have in all this is that apparently this parody trailer is now going to be turned into a full-on feature film on Roku, and it does have the same title, Weird, the Al Yankovic story. But what's also very interesting to note is that Aaron Paul is not going to be coming back to play the role of Weird Al. Instead, that is actually going to be played by Daniel Radcliffe. Yes, I never thought I would say this, but Daniel Radcliffe is actually going to be playing as Weird Al. And I'm going to read you a couple of quotes here from my source here on Variety about this whole situation. Actually, there is a plot synopsis they have over here. So this is according to Roku, as it states. The biopic holds nothing back. exploring every facet of Yankovic's life, from his meteoric rise of fame with his early hits like Eat It and Like a Surgeon, to his torrid celebrity love affairs and famously depraved lifestyle. Weird, the Al Yankovic story takes audiences on a truly unbelievable journey through Yankovic's life and career, from gifted child prodigy to the greatest music legend of all time. We even got a couple of quotes here. This one coming from Weird Al himself, as he states, "When my last movie, UHF, came out in 1989, I made a solemn vow to the fans that I would release a major motion picture every 33 years, like clockwork. I'm very happy to say that we're on schedule, and I am absolutely thrilled that Daniel Radcliffe will be portraying me in the film. I have no doubts whatsoever that this is the role future generations will remember him for." And then, yeah, honestly, yes, that is my attempt of the Weird Al voice, you know. I try, you know. But anyways, we also got a quote here coming from Colin Davis, the head of original scripted programming from Roku, as he states, there clearly aren't enough biopic movies about famous musicians, and we were excited to shine a light on this incredibly true, unexaggerated story of Weird Al. This is sincerely the ultimate combination of talent, creativity, and friends, coming together to make something genuinely funny, and we could not be prouder to call this film a Roku original. Now, keep in mind that we don't have a confirmation date on when this is going to be coming out. We only know for now is that, the only thing we do know for now is that Roku is going to be making this movie. And I mean, I don't know if I would be able to watch it right now, especially with the fact that I don't necessarily have Roku. And I do hope that maybe like there might be an easier way to go and have access to this. I don't know. Like, I think Roku is available in Canada. If not, then I'm hoping that maybe like there might be other platforms that could actually get it for me. Who knows? Maybe that's just wishful thinking. But anyways, yes, I am a Weird Al fan. I love Weird Al. Like, honestly, it's a love that I've had ever since I was introduced to him back when I was, I think, like 9 or 10 years old. My God, like his works are just absolutely hilarious. And even to this day, like my favorite Weird Al song is honestly the first one I was introduced to with Amish Paradise. That one is honestly great. And there was actually at one point, I actually did see Weird Al performing live, and it was such an awesome concert. Believe it or not, it was actually an outdoor concert that Weird Al did that was honestly free, and everyone can just go in a park and just watch him live. It was really awesome. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, over the years, I've always been a major Weird Al fan, and one of the things that I've even done is that I remember there was like this ultimate package that Weird Al actually did put out. In fact, I don't know, can I be able to bring it out? Yes, okay, yes, I can actually. Good. Let me just, I need to show you guys this of what I've gotten. Oh, fudge. Hold on a sec. Oh, schnut. Okay, hold on. It might be a little bit more difficult to bring out, but I can do. Oh, schnut, don't fall. It's like stacked up behind a bunch of things, but there we go. There we go. That's more like it. Okay. Ooh. All right. Let me show you what I got here. This massive accordion here. Now, this is not a real accordion. This is actually a CD collection. Like you could actually go and pull out like a lot of Weird Al's hits. Like I got Even Worse here. I got, which one is this? Off the Deep End. Like I could even get like Poodle Hat. Even some of the more recent stuff like Mandatory Fun. And of course, who couldn't forget this beloved, where's this beloved classic? Ah, yes. Straight Out of Linwood. So yeah, like this is just one of this one is like a very expensive package though, but still I am proud to have owned this piece of beauty right here. And I even have like a whole bunch of CDs as is. Like I do have Linwood and Mandatory Fun as their own individual CDs. So yeah, this is all just to say that I am a major Weird Al fan, and hearing that there is going to be this Weird Al movie coming out. And yes, by the way, for those of you who are probably asking, I did watch UHF, and it definitely is like a goofy, fun film. I will admit it was a bit slow at the start of it, but once like it starts off, like it just shoots out like a rocket. But hearing that there is going to be this Weird Al movie, I'm honestly immediately on board. And it's the kind of thing that, honestly, I gotta say that this is the kind where the goofier it is, the better. I want this to be completely nonsensical and make this as exaggeratingly dumb as possible. This is a very rare case where the less accurate you are to real life, the better it can legitimately be, because it will reflect perfectly on Weird Al's style, with his style of music and stuff like that. I'm not saying do exactly like what we just saw with the Funny or Die video, but I'm just saying, like, just go all out on it. Just go nuts. Be wild, be funny. Just, make this as enjoyable as possible. And then there is the other factor that Daniel Radcliffe, out of all people, Daniel Radcliffe is going to be playing as Weird Al. And that I find to be one of the most random choices. And this is not to say that I don't like Daniel Radcliffe. I actually do find him to be an amazing actor. But honestly, it's one of those cases that when you think about someone who would play as Weird Al, if there would ever be a Weird Al biopic, I would never have imagined Daniel Radcliffe would be the one. I'm just wondering how did that decision get made? I wonder, is there like an executive board meeting that Al was in, and they were all asking like, okay, Al, we're gonna make your biopic. Who would you like to see play as you in the movie? I want to have Harry Potter. The guy playing Harry Potter? I want him to be on board. Well, why? Okay, but Daniel Radcliffe, but why him? I want to be a wizard. Imagine like you take the movie and I become a wizard. That would be epic. Well, okay, well, you're the one spending your money, Al. All right, let's make you a wizard. Let's go call Daniel. But still, it's like, it's random, but then again, it fits with the tone. It fits with what's going on here. I feel like it's actually a pretty perfect choice. The fact that it's so out of nowhere, the fact that it is random, I feel like, honestly, it works. That it's going to deliver things that you're very much unexpected, like you cannot expect to happen. So honestly, if this is going to be staying true to the Weird Al tone, and they're just going to make it as goofy, as exaggerated, as stupid as possible, then honestly, I'm all board for this. Honestly, like I know about like the real life Weird Al. It's like his life is actually pretty tame. It's pretty calm. Like the guy that barely has any drama whatsoever. None of the like typical Hollywood scandals that you would expect. But in this case here with Weird Al, like it's relatively tame, which gives a lot more room to just go crazy and just be as exaggerated as possible. So overall, I'm very much excited for this project. As a Weird Al fan, I am definitely going to keep my eye on this project. Okay, so with that said, I would like to go and ask the chat wall, and now I want to know what you think about this Weird Al biopic. Are you guys excited for this one? Are you a fan of Weird Al? Do you agree with the choice of Daniel Radcliffe? Let me know what you think. Let's see here. I want to see this film so badly. Fun fact, this is not the first time Weird Al was involved in something Harry Potter related. At one point in history, he was in the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy as the voice of the Squid Hat, a parody of the Harry Potter character, the Sorting Hat. Perhaps this will be the next most memorable thing about Daniel Radcliffe aside from Harry Potter. I mean, with the other Harry Potter cast like Emma Watson, what other roles do you remember? Belle? Boy, that was forgetful. No, I mean, honestly, with Daniel Radcliffe, I feel like he's doing very well with himself, like moving on from Harry Potter. Yes, Harry is still his most iconic role, but he is still doing a lot of great performances and a lot of great roles. Like there is one I remember, I don't remember the name specifically of the movie, but it was one that like he actually did do a very good job. And it's one that a lot of people, like, at first it might seem weird, but when you actually watch it, it's actually extremely good. It's a movie in which you see Daniel Radcliffe, and he's just going, and like basically he's not really dead, but he's kind of like a human Swiss Army knife, where basically he has like all these different abilities but cannot act like a human. And there are moments where even his farting abilities are considered supernatural and actually be quite useful for the movie's protagonist. So honestly, with Daniel Radcliffe, he's doing very well for himself, and he's also, like I said, he's an extremely well-established actor. So honestly, they did a great pick with this one, and I think he could definitely do justice, whether it be for something that would be taken seriously or just do a flat-out comedic role like being Weird Al. And I think that would be one thing I would love to see from Daniel Radcliffe. Just take on a role in which he cannot take it seriously whatsoever. That would be fun. Let's see, what else do we have here? I can't wait for this. Weird Al is one of my favorite artists, and this announcement is definitely fueling my hype train. Woo woo! Plus, I think it's funny. Plus, I think the Funny or Die video parodying the Joe Belushi biopic, Wired. I hope they will include some of the other Weird Al songs like Lasagna, Here's Johnny, One More Minute, or UHF. Either way, bring on the hype. Plus, one of my favorite UHF moment is the drink from the fire hose. Oh yeah, I mean, UHF is just one of those. UHF is one of those movies that's just full on meme material. Where like the movie itself, like I wouldn't say it's great, but like just the amount of materials that you can use to turn like specific moments into memes, like there is plentiful, and there's a lot, like not just meme material, but even GIF material. Like they really do work out. Let's see now. The movie has only just been announced, and I already booked my tickets. Oh, wait, it's on Roku? Then what the hell did I book tickets for? You just look it up, and it was like, crap, Sing 2 again? This is the third time this week. But as a major Weird Al fan, I'm absolutely hyped for this, since Weird Al is writing this, so he could just go balls out and do whatever he wants. Also, I, for one, welcome Daniel Radcliffe into the next addition to his career of WTF roles. Seriously, look up the video of him singing She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain on Miracle Workers. It's bonkers. Oh, is that the one where, like, we see him, like, just in his pajamas, like, freaking out, like, with these two guns? Like, you probably have seen this picture of, like, this Daniel Radcliffe with a beard. He's just in his PJs with a robe, and he's, like, carrying two guns. It's like, I am unstoppable! Would that be the one? I don't know. There's been several roles where Daniel Radcliffe just went nuts. Let's see. What else do we have here? What other roles? And yeah, I did forget to mention that, yeah, it is true that apparently Weird Al is going to be writing the script along with Eric Appel, in which Eric Appel is going to be the director of the film. So it's going to be a collaboration between the two. What other comments do we have? Who else can we have? Let me get this straight. Harry Potter himself is playing Weird Al in his own biopic. Personally, I do not really know much about Weird Al outside of UHF and his performance in Milo Murphy's Law. Honestly, I agree it's just a flat-out weird casting and definitely as weird as possible. And I am honestly hoping that they make this as bonkers as possible, so overall this definitely has a lot of potential. Oh, absolutely. That's why I'm so excited for this. I'll read one more comment before we move on to the final story. There's no doubt that Daniel Radcliffe is an amazing actor, especially how he played Harry Potter in all Harry Potter films, although his post-Harry Potter movies have been a mixed bag lately, but seeing him getting cast as Weird Al is intriguing, so I hope he does a good job in that role. Exactly. Honestly, there's going to be a lot of hype, there's going to be a lot of excitement for this, but either way, I'm definitely ready to see Weird Al's life be portrayed in a weird Roku movie. And this is it, folks. We have finally made it to what could possibly be the biggest grand finale of this year. Now, this one may not necessarily be animation related, but this is the biggest news of the week. But not only that, this has got to be the biggest video game news of the year and possibly one of the biggest video game news of the decade. Like, it really is something that to this day, people are freaked out about and they are talking about. So with that said, let's get right into it and let's go and discuss about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. Yes, folks, the biggest news that happened last week was the fact that Microsoft made their biggest purchase in their history by fully buying out Activision Blizzard, to which the amount that they have purchased goes for a grand total of $68.7 billion. Yes, $68.7 billion with a B. A deal in which it is much larger than LinkedIn back in 2016 when they only purchased it for $26 billion. So what this pretty much means, long story short, is that not only does Xbox get to own the massive collection of Activision games, but they also get to own the library of content that they own. Well, not just, okay, I think I just repeated myself. Sorry about that, folks. But what I mean is that they own those major properties that they have. They own Call of Duty. They own Crash Bandicoot. They own Spyro. They own Guitar Hero and so much more. But on top of that, considering their subsidiaries do include Blizzard and King, that also means that they own another massive chunk of video game history, in which now Microsoft owns World of Warcraft, they own Overwatch, they own StarCraft, they own Diablo, and they own Candy Crush. So they purchased a massive collection and a massive company. In fact, they did end up purchasing one of, if not the biggest third-party company in the video game industry. And it's something that really grabbed a lot of people's attention. Not to mention the fact that not only did they buy one of the biggest third-party companies, they also purchased one of the most troublesome and the most controversial third-party company out there. Because for those of you who don't know, Activision Blizzard, well, it's the place where you do not want to work at, especially if you are a woman. Now, this required a whole lot of research in itself, but basically, long story short, Activision actually has a prominently long history of poor treatment to their employees, and especially poor treatment towards women. Like, it is a heap and pile of toxic masculinity and misogyny in there, with a long history of sexual harassment, massive wage gaps, and many, many more. The list just goes on, especially with the CEO of Activision, Bobby Kotick. He would go and fully enable this behavior, and he would do everything he can in order to silence the criticisms and like steer people away from the idea of unionizing. In fact, maybe this article on The Verge would actually go and summarize it best for me. As it states, Microsoft's deal comes after months of sexual harassment claims against Activision Blizzard. Last July, the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing sued Activision Blizzard for promoting a culture of constant sexual harassment. More employees have come forward with more allegations of sexual misconduct ever since, and the company reached an $18 million settlement with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in September. That settlement is being appealed, and reports indicate that nearly 40 Activision Blizzard employees have reportedly exiled the company since last July. Not to mention the fact that ever since this controversy began, there have been so many people who have been hired as higher ups, and then they realized that the damage is irreparable and they bailed out. Like, there were so many people that became like executives and CEOs, and they just couldn't handle the heat, that they would just immediately leave just a few months later. So it's kind of crazy to imagine that Microsoft would legit go and actually buy this company, that they would buy them at their absolute worst. But they might actually have a bit of an idea. Now, a lot of people are pretty much talking about the possible notion that they would go and build up Activision from the ground in order to make things a little bit better. Just to read you, actually, I'll go and read you this part where it states here, Microsoft doesn't detail exactly how it will approach solving these issues and controversies, and the company says Bobby Kotick will continue to serve as CEO of Activision Blizzard for now. It looks like Kotick won't remain once the deal is fully closed, and after the transition period to Microsoft, though, Spencer, formerly the head of gaming at Microsoft, is now CEO of Microsoft Gaming, and the company says that Activision Blizzard business will report directly to Spencer. As a company, Microsoft is committed to our journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming, among both employees and players. We deeply value individual studio cultures. We also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment. We're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision Blizzard. Now, keep in mind, though, that this whole thing has only been announced. This is not something that they have officially given all their money and now the deal is done. There is still like a lot of negotiations that Microsoft and Activision has to do, and they say that the deal will officially be closed next year, sometime in 2023. So at the most, we would probably expect up to 18 months of this negotiations to happen. So ultimately, we will have to wait and see. But yes, this is the news that is currently shaking the entire internet and the entire video game industry. And I think it is safe to say here that this is a massive power move. In fact, this is one of the biggest power moves in gaming history. The fact that we have seen Microsoft completely buy out Activision, in which they buy out like one of the biggest video game companies, period. In fact, I could even say that this is almost comparable to the Disney Fox purchase, to which like even the pricing of it is almost very similar, where Disney bought Fox for about 72.1 billion, if my memory serves correctly. And in here, the number is not far off, 68.7 billion. That's just like more than $2 billion difference, and that's it. So already from there, like this is a deal that will make a very, very significant impact. And right from there, a lot of people are very much concerned about what this is going to mean about the future of gaming in general, and how are these mega corporations such as Microsoft and PlayStation, how are they going to go and approach gaming after Microsoft has done this major move? And from there, I would like to go and like immediately address the elephant in the room. And that's one thing that I do want to talk about, is regarding all the controversies. The fact that Microsoft would buy out Activision, even with all the troubles that it has right there. And I think personally, that's the one major thing that I feel like is the biggest turnoff, the one big downside to this entire deal. And that is the fact that I really feel like the fact that Activision Blizzard would even allow this in the first place, I feel like this is a last resort where the culprits, the people who were responsible for the years of sexual harassment and poor treatment towards employees, this is their last resort in order to get away with what they have done over the years, to hide from consequences to their actions by acquiring millions upon millions of dollars. Not millions, actually, that they're going to acquire billions just to sell this away. And that they're going to use the rest of their money in order to settle all these different lawsuits. Not to mention the fact that one thing that is extremely concerning is that now the employees are going to be in the hands of Microsoft, that it's going to be in the hands of those guys. And that really does leave the future of all these employees in question. What is that going to mean about their future? What is that going to mean about how they are going to be treated? What is that going to mean now that they will be in the hands of Microsoft and not Activision Blizzard? And one thing that is actually concerning is that as we are talking right now, those employees are currently trying to fight to be unionized in order to go and actually be recognized as well-respected employees and actually have standards in terms of how they would go and be treated and how much money that they would be paid, which is something that Activision Blizzard and Bobby Kotick tried again and again and again in order to push back against. And in this case here, I don't know, like, honestly, I don't know how the work environment is at Microsoft and when working on Xbox games and stuff like that, but it's going to be hard to imagine that a mega corporation like Microsoft would even allow their employees to go and be unionized in order for them to be, in order to actually have like standards. Like maybe their working conditions are going to be better where sexual harassment will be looked down upon, and that is going to go a bit down. But when it comes to the treatment and when it comes to their treatment in order to be more fair, that seems a lot less likely than for Activision to just give in and actually unionize their employees. Not to mention the fact that, well, Activision, considering with all the controversies that they have faced, like their reputation has gone down the drain, and so is their values, so is their stocks, that they're becoming less and less of a profitable gaming company, that less people are buying their games in protest, that their name has definitely been tarnished so badly. And so from there, Activision has pretty much no choice but to get it off of their hands. They can't function well as its own company, especially with the controversies that they face, and the people who are responsible for these controversies, like Bobby Kotick, want to try to get away from them. And that's the part where, for me, again, this is the biggest downside to this. This is where I feel like this is going to be the most troublesome aspect, and why I don't really support this deal. It is because of how this really feels like a power move from the executives at Activision to get away with what they have done, and that the employees would end up with the shorter end of the stick. Now, with that said, though, that's just, again, regarding the controversies, the white elephant in the room. Now, there are probably some of you that are wondering, what about you? What about you, the consumer, who would buy these Xbox games and these PC games? What is this going to mean to you? And I think in that regard, if you're someone who commonly plays with PCs, or if you're an Xbox player, this is going to be a magical time for you. Like, this isn't going to be a great time for you. This will legit be a magical time. For those of you who do have an Xbox or a PC, then you probably know about the Game Pass, which is kind of like a streaming service subscription, but for gaming. And if you have access to that, then you pretty much have access to all the different, like, older games that they have in their past collection, even like from the old days of like Xbox 360, the original Xbox, and even some older PC games and whatever what other games that Microsoft actually owns in their collection. And now that they do have Activision Blizzard, now that they have their asset and their huge library, that thing is going to be substantially huge. In fact, that's going to be the one thing that Phil Spencer has actually promised, and that is going to be the significant increase of the Game Pass, where Phil Spencer even states, upon close, we will offer as many Activision Blizzard games as we can within Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, both new titles and games from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalog. So that's already a major win right there for Xbox, that they do have those for Microsoft. And another thing that is also very significant and worth talking about is that now that Microsoft is the owner of these, they will have a lot more exclusives. They are going to be owning so many more exclusives and so many different big name titles that are only going to be on the Xbox and the Xbox Series. And this is a massive win for Xbox, especially when some of their titles are some of the biggest, especially when they are the owners of Overwatch and even Call of Duty, games in which you would commonly expect to find as third-party games that would be available across as many different platforms as possible. But now they're just going to be available on the Xbox. And I know some people might think it's a little bit crazy to imagine, especially for something like Call of Duty, which has been commonly known to be like a third-party game that is available across all different platforms. Like some people might think that it's hard to imagine like the PS5 not having any more Call of Duty games. But keep in mind, Microsoft purchased this for almost $70 billion. They have every right to go and do so and keep everything for themselves. If they want to go and have their own gaming lineup, if they want to have Activision for themselves, they are allowed to do so because they paid all that money for it. And that's why, even though this is going to be and also, I almost forgot, another thing that is also worth mentioning is that another thing Phil Spencer promised to do is that he is even going to be looking at some of the older titles that Activision has and some of the older franchises and actually give them new life. He even stated that he is looking upon some other franchises like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro or even Guitar Hero and actually make new installments to them for the Xbox lineup or even for the PC lineup, which I know that's already one thing that fans are already excited for. And not to mention the massive irony that Crash Bandicoot at one point was PlayStation's mascot and is now going to be an Xbox exclusive. It's kind of crazy to think about, but still, it's one thing that really is worth mentioning that, it's obvious that Xbox does have some major plans when it comes to those games and when it comes to those properties. And they will and after spending $70 billion, they will do their best to make the most out of it. Not to mention the fact that, this is my original point that I wanted to mention before, that even though this is Microsoft's win, this is still a major loss for Sony, because the fact that one of the biggest third-party developers are now being owned by Sony's biggest competitor in the gaming industry with Microsoft, that really leaves Sony with almost nothing. Even right now, the biggest criticism that people have regarding the PS5 is that there's not much exclusive games that you can really go and actually get. I mean, yeah, there are a few that you can go and buy, such as, like the Spider-Man games are really awesome. But other than that, though, there really isn't anything that is exclusive to PlayStation that, like, you gotta go and get a PS5. So the fact that it really does limit their options, it's going to be something that PlayStation really needs to take action, and that they need to immediately start releasing their games, or at least prove why people should get a PS5 instead of an Xbox Series, because with their lack of games, there's going to be a lot more people starting next year that will gravitate towards getting an Xbox Series instead of just waiting for a PS5 in order for that to be on sale again. It took so much time that maybe people will just be impatient and just say, screw it, I'm gonna go with Bill Gates' toy. But then it brings up the factor regarding the future of gaming. What is this going to mean for the future of video games? What is going to happen with that, especially with that major power move? People are expecting that starting in 2023, when the acquisition is done, that gaming is now going to be more competitive than ever, that we are going to be going back to the rivalry days of like Nintendo and Sega, and back when the console wars was a major thing with Xbox versus PlayStation versus Nintendo. And one thing that people are probably worried that could happen is that these buyouts might end up becoming more common. You never know if PlayStation might end up doing another form of power move in order to stay in the competition, that they would go and buy something like Square Enix, or they would buy Capcom so that they could have their exclusives right there. It's going to be, the competition is right now pretty intense, and we don't know what's going to happen, but I could personally imagine that maybe we will actually see some competition like that actually do happen. It would not surprise me if we are going to see a major buyout that Sony is going to do in order to actually compete against Microsoft and take something that you could say is precious to them, again, like either buying Square Enix, or buying Ubisoft, or buying Capcom. Still, though, it is something that it's kind of an alarm for Sony to pick up their pace and actually play their game. or actually like pick up the pace and actually like really get into the game. And then, of course, well, you have Nintendo, but Nintendo is Nintendo. They usually do their own things, and often it would go pretty well for them, especially with what's happening right now with the Switch. But yeah, honestly, with this news, I feel like this is something that this really is one of the biggest news of the decade. I will say this right now because of how it would make so much of an impact to the gaming industry and to everyone that surrounds this whole industry, not just the employees working on it, but also the top executives, what's going to happen to the future of the industry, what's going to happen to consumers, what's going to happen to Microsoft, what's going to happen to PlayStation. Like, really, this is going to be a true, well, no pun intended, a game changer. This is going to be something that will change the pace of the gaming industry. And now we're going to see this become a lot more competitive than ever. So it's kind of a crazy thing. And I know there's a lot of varying different opinions, but I don't know. For me, I will say overall, I think it's kind of a big wait and see kind of thing, especially when the deal will officially be made in 2023. And that's when the changes will officially apply. And that's when we're going to see Activision be a subsidiary of Microsoft. And from there, you never know what the future is going to hold, but it's going to be crazy to imagine what they're going to do to this. It's, honestly, it really is just this big wait and see moment. All right. So with that said, I'm sure you guys have your opinions on this. And I would like to know from you all, what do you think about the entire Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition? Are you guys more on board with Microsoft? Are you guys excited to see this happen? Do you have any concerns, or do you have any major questions of what could happen in the future because of this? Let me know what you think. Seriously, this is one of those things that we need more voices and a lot more opinions for us to like fully comprehend what the fridge just happened with this. Okay, so let's see what we got here. I've already stayed away from Blizzard ever since the Blitzchung controversy back in 2019. All of the controversies that surround Activision Blizzard has really shown how horrible they are, not to mention that Blizzard's games like World of Warcraft and Overwatch have been dropping in quality so much that players have jumped to the other games like Final Fantasy XIV. I can only hope that Microsoft can stop all of this crap that's going on with Activision Blizzard, and they will treat Sony fairly. Like Microsoft is gonna treat Sony fairly. Nah, man. If they want to do an acquisition, and if they want to do that to Sony, they would. Nah, this is a move. No, with this kind of move right here, they are showing Sony no freaking mercy, dude. Oh, let's see now. Let's see what we got here. Wow, Microsoft is buying a lot of gaming companies. There was even that time where Microsoft tried to buy Nintendo, but instead they went with Bethesda. Also, I feel bad for the employees who were sexually harassed. Even someone in the chat wall said that 2 women in Activision Blizzard were took away their lives because of the harassment. So I feel very sorry for the employees there. Hopefully, Microsoft can calm things down as Activision Blizzard and be equal with Activision Blizzard and be equal to one another. Were you familiar with World of Warcraft? I mean, I knew about it, but I never really played it myself. I wasn't really that much of a major MMORPG player. If there is an RPG that I would be committed to, it's more Pokemon than anything. I'm just not really that much of an MMORPG guy. So it's just not a game for me, is all I'm saying. Let's see what we have here. This was something I never expected. Personally, I believe this is either going to make or break Activision Blizzard. After all, the things that were revealed about them last year that destroyed them, I only hope they kick out the deadbeat CEO. Also, it could help them out because of how the company has been struggling in recent years. In my opinion, ever since Activision Blizzard merged in 2008 and made a serious mistake on that decision, that was the start of their downfall. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Yeah, it is ultimately a wait and see kind of thing. And I think it is for sure that the deadbeat CEO is going to be out of it. But still, that isn't going to 100% solve the problems because of this acquisition. It feels like because of the deal, he's going to get away with it. That's the part that really does turn me off about the whole situation, is how he's most likely not going to face that much consequences for this. Let's see now. I have mixed feelings about this. On one hand, I'm glad that these employees involved would have better work environment and even report that Bobby would leave after the fiscal year in mid-2023. But on the other hand, I'm worried and fear that it could be the start of a domino effect where other companies like Sony and Nintendo would start buying studios and third-party support would be lost in general. I'm not an Xbox person because their games never interested me, but this is still massive news nonetheless. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about Nintendo because they did state before that they're not really that interested in doing this kind of buyout, but it depends on Sony. I would not be surprised if they would respond by doing their own major buyout. Let's see. What else do we have? I still can't believe Microsoft bought out Activision Blizzard, one of the most controversial video game companies, alongside how Electronic Arts is also bad as well. As a PlayStation guy and sometimes a Nintendo guy, I feel like Microsoft bought this company out so they could be much bigger and compete more against Sony in terms of properties and game divisions. I don't know if it will pay off for Microsoft, but this is crazy from the looks of it. I think it might. I mean, the fact that they bought a huge collection of games and the fact that they would put them on Game Pass so that it makes it easily accessible for anyone to go and play, I think that alone can be a huge win. So honestly, I feel like it's more likely than not that this will pay off for Microsoft, especially with the system that they have already built with their lineups and with their games. Like, the Game Pass alone is already a reason why they want to get it. You know, it's kind of like the same reason why Disney purchased Fox. It's not really because like they want to own another major company and make a power move. It's because they want to have that huge collection so that they could put it on Disney Plus. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we go and conclude this. Actually, I heard Microsoft is going to allow PlayStation and Nintendo ports. As a guy who played a ton of Activision games, including Skylanders, Crash, and Spyro, I have tons of questions, which I don't know if you can answer. Here are examples. Does this give Microsoft a bigger opportunity to make their own Smash game? And in that regard, I don't really know. I don't know if they would be interested in that market, but who knows? It depends if they would be interested in it. What other questions? How many franchises can Microsoft revive? Oh, they could do a whole bunch, and they have talked about like reviving a whole lot of them that have been dead in the water. Like I said before, like I've mentioned that they want to revive Spyro, Crash, and Guitar Hero. Let's see what else we have here. What's going to happen with Activision Blizzard's TV studio, the creators of Skylanders Academy? Probably gone. Who knows? And most importantly, can Banjo-Kazooie meet Crash Bandicoot? That would be an interesting crossover and technically would be possible, but it all depends on what Microsoft would want to say. And with that said, I think that should conclude this epic episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And whoo boy, what an episode this has been. And man, we just went through one crazy week, and maybe, who knows, this could continue in the future, but I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. But with all that said and done, I would just like to go and say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching, and tune in next time as we will see more crazy stories unfold in this crazy world here on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for checking me out, and until next time, see you later, dudes.